office is still a relatively new department in city government. We were created at the beginning of 2010 by Mayor Stephanie Miner, and one of our primary responsibilities is the development of the city's comprehensive plan. As Ms. Lamandola mentioned, the city comprehensive plan was adopted in 2005, and now that it's been more than 7 years since that took place, and with new information available to us about our community, new census information and so on, we felt that it was a good time to revise the plan, and that's what we've been working on over the last 2 years or so in conjunction with the community, the Syracuse County Council, and yourselves, along with a variety of stakeholders and subject experts in the community, and that's what we're going to talk about this evening. We direct your attention to the chapters or components that we've developed as part of the Syracuse Comprehensive Plan 2040.
Mr. Maxwell, is it safe to say then for the record that with the strong desire to have feedback from the public, that the office would work as appropriate to distribute notices relative to the plan to approximately how many city residents, sir?
Well, for the purposes of this meeting and the public hearing tonight, we did send postcards out to each property owner in the city.
And that's in excess of?
About 35,000.
35,000 individuals. And the information is also available on the web?
That's correct.
And just in reference to the availability of the document online, just like to clarify the graphic, and while I'm speaking over here, we'll be referencing the presentation on the board. You'll notice the graphic there has a large circle and a series of smaller circles around it. When you do go online, that is represents the plan and the component parts, and you can click on each one of them to access the individual plan. There's been some confusion about that, so you can click directly on those to access the plan. With that, I'll begin with a description of the comprehensive plan, and then we'll segue into each of the component parts. The Syracuse Comprehensive Plan 2040 is an update, as you just heard, to a previous comprehensive plan 2025 that was done about 7 years ago. And that was largely, this update was largely undertaken due to recent events and demographic changes in the city. The comprehensive plan itself outlines a vision for our city's future and is focused on goals to implement this vision outlined in the comprehensive plan. The plan itself is now more focused on a broad range of municipal actions which the city can control. The previous comp plan was even more broad in items that it identified, and we really focused in with the comprehensive plan and the components on goals, actions, and implementation items that the city can control and ultimately affect. The plan format, again, I'll direct your attention to the board. The comprehensive plan format describes, the first part is a description of the vision for the future. The second part, it identifies policies, goals, and recommendations. And as you can see, there's a broad range that this plan includes, from capital, facilities, cultural assets, economic development, education, government modernization, housing, land use and development, public safety, sustainability, transportation, and utilities. Again, a broad range, but ones that the city can affect change over. The third part of the comprehensive plan is the implementation plan, outlining exactly how the city will go about implementing the plan. And finally, the largest part are the component parts of the plan, which again are those outlined 5 circles, which again you will hear more about shortly. These component parts support the vision of the comprehensive plan, and in addition to the 5 identified, it is our intention to include a pedestrian infrastructure and a parks and open space components in the near future. Public outreach and input. The extensive, this comprehensive plan really built upon the strong and extensive public output from the previous comprehensive plan. And in doing so, retain the goals and the vision, the vision and the guiding policies of that previous plan, and really, again, provided updates and added goals based on changes that have happened since then. Each of these components was presented to TNT groups and at other public meetings. And a great deal of feedback on issues broader than the specific component parts was received and integrated into this update. Additional and edited content was drafted and reviewed by an interdepartmental planning team. And the advisory committee members, with some of which were appointed by common council, and the mayor reviewed the plan and provided revisions based on the review. This feedback was integrated into the final version that you see in front of you. And finally, how the plan will influence policy and decision making. These, you'll notice the three bulleted points on the presentation. First and foremost, will guide the preparation of city operating and capital improvement budgets. Second, should guide the allocation of other other funds administered by the city, for example, CDBG and home funds. And finally, provide a common vision to guide all related planning documents. And essentially, as I mentioned, all of the other planning documents and component parts will support the vision of the comprehensive plan. With that, I'll turn it over to our first description of the component part, which is the bicycle plan.
Thank you, Owen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Commission, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the public. Thank you all for coming out tonight and for showing your interest in planning in Syracuse. My name is Rebecca Klosner, and I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the City of Syracuse. I'm going to be presenting the bicycle infrastructure component on behalf of Paul Mercurio, our transportation planner, who could not be here tonight. So, first of all, the purpose of the bike infrastructure plan is to develop a blueprint for the development of a vigorous bicycle network in Syracuse. Thank you, John. It highlights the benefits of cycling. It determines the proper infrastructure to use to add to our streets to make cycling safer in Syracuse, and it proposes conceptual corridor designs for each of our city's neighborhoods. The plan is formatted into 4 chapters. The first chapter makes the case for cycling in Syracuse according to its economic benefits, its health benefits, in terms of equitable transportation for all community members, for safety, and for community. The next part is an inventory measures and maps, and that's based on assessment work that was done by Syracuse Metropolitan Transportation Council. They analyzed our city's main corridors according to their safety for bicycling, in terms of their connectivity to destinations, to other bike routes, and to design of the streets themselves in terms of steepness of those roads, the width, etc. The third part is a toolkit, and that contains prescriptions for infrastructure measures that can be added to our streets, such as bike lanes, such as sharrows, such as a cycle track, and that's what we see on University Ave now. The fourth portion is then neighborhood recommendations, and that combines number 2 and number 3 with the public input that Paul received during his neighborhood meetings to make specific recommendations for our neighborhoods. So Paul did extensive public outreach and input in developing this plan. He held 15 public meetings, including all of our TNT areas, and reached about 500 people overall. Then the draft plan was uploaded to the city website about a year ago. Paul has cataloged over 900 views to the website. 21 unique media stories were published, including TV, radio, newspapers, and Paul developed a bike plan communication list of interested citizens with nearly 100 people. So based on all of the input that he received through all these avenues, he revised the plan and re-released it on November 12th. So the plan will influence policy and decision-making in a couple of important ways. The first is that the Public Works Department and the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability staff will coordinate implementation of the bicycle network. Next, this plan will also guide future engineering studies, capital projects, and pursuit of grant opportunities to add to the city's bike infrastructure. So thank you again. We will take your comments at the end of all of our presentations. And now I'll turn the floor over to Kate for a discussion of historic preservation.
Good evening. My name is Kate Alliter, and I am the preservation planner for the city of Syracuse as well as the public art coordinator. This component that I'm going to talk about right now is the historic preservation component of the plan. The purpose of the plan is to establish the city's preservation policy and it lays the groundwork for the revisions to the historic preservation ordinance, which I'll talk a little bit further about, with the ultimate goal of providing transparency and predictability to people who own or are interested in investing in historic resources here in the city. The format of the plan is similar to the other component plans. We start with an introduction, which is followed by an overview of the preservation program here. The next section lays out 3 goals and actions of the plan under the general headings of education, economic development, and process and implementation. The goals of the preservation plan include, the first goal is celebrate Syracuse history and heritage as embodied by its historic resources. This includes actions such as continuing the important documentation and evaluation of the historic resources in the city, developing educational programs and publications, developing an annual historic preservation award program, and possibly a marker program, just as a number of examples of the type of educational actions that we have proposed. The second goal is promote the economic opportunities and benefits of historic preservation. I would say some of the most exciting projects, as far as I'm concerned, that have been happening here in the city of late have dealt with the adaptive reuse of historic resources, including, for example, the extensive pike block construction project that's going on right now, the expansion of the Landmark Theater. If you go up on the hill, you'll see the Hotel Schuyler, and there are a number of different projects. And so we want to continue to seek ways to promote the reuse of our historic resources and come up with incentives for people to take advantage of. And the third goal is prioritize preservation in Syracuse's land use regulations and city operations. And as I noted before, one of the primary goals of this plan is to lay the groundwork for the revisions of our preservation ordinance, which was written in the 1970s and adopted in the 1970s. And it may have been groundbreaking at the time, but it's now time to do a full revision and take a look at that. Under this goal, we also have some recommendations regarding staff training, qualifications. We're looking at the Landmark Preservation Board operations and making sure that the city department
Is the last component we'll present tonight.
Rebecca, let me make one comment, because I interpret your approach in the last part of the presentation. My question might very well be to you, Mr. Maxwell, or being that you are approaching the end of a presentation, let me confirm what I assume to be what you desire, is to obtain feedback from interested parties who desire to provide feedback to the extensive and comprehensiveness of your program. But being that we have a sizable number of individuals in the audience, my question to you, if you have a process specifically that you propose, then let's entertain it. If not, I know that historically when we've had such a large audience, we would either ask individuals to complete a card to express their interest, and once they've completed the card, will you summarize at this point the next steps thereafter, please?
Yes, if anyone wishes to speak about the comprehensive plan, either in favor or against, there are white cards at the back table underneath the clock. If you could fill one of the cards out and bring them up to the table, and then Dr. Clark calls persons wishing to speak in favor, you can line up towards the wall there. And we simply need the cards just because when there's so many people, it's sometimes hard to hear, and things are moving so fast that we want to make sure we get everyone's name spelled correctly.
In summary, for those of you in the audience, as soon as Mr. Maxwell and the other participants in the presentation completes their presentation, we will be asking for comments from the audience. And for all of the individuals in the audience who might desire to speak in favor, you will be asked to come first. Then, if there are individuals who desire to speak in opposition, you would be asked to come thereafter. But before either group, we want to ask the representative of the Common Council to certainly come first, because I do know that they've got another extensive agenda for this evening, as many of you have. And so I just wanted to pause to ask you, please follow Heather's guidance.
With us. Only about 45 minutes more on the presentation. I'm kidding. We have 3 or 4 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Dr. Coward.
Thank you.
Again, I'm Rebecca Closer, and I'm presenting the sustainability component of the comprehensive plan. The overall purpose of this component is to ensure the city's long-term viability. And the recommendations of the plan generally fall into 3 categories. One is to reduce the energy costs and demand in the city. Another is to increase the efficiency of the city's operations. And the third is to foster a healthy environment, both in a literal sense and in the sense of fostering healthy neighborhoods where people have access to pedestrian accommodations, green space, and the amenities that they need in their everyday lives. So the plan is formatted. First, the introduction includes a background on a greenhouse gas assessment that was done in 2010 for the city at large, and goals that are recommended for greenhouse gas reductions in conjunction with that study. We chose goals after a lot of discussion that we felt were both feasible and responsible in that vein. It also includes a section on climate adaptation, recognizing that as important as it is for us to take all of the steps that we can to reduce climate change, also there's a certain amount of climate change that is inevitable, and we'll need to start preparing for that by building that into our planning. The rest of the plan, the bulk of the plan really, is 5 topic areas. The first is energy and green building, which is self-explanatory. Next is education, which explores ways that we can support the mission of the Syracuse City School District, as well as identifying resources for sustainability education in the community. The next is food systems, or as I like to think of it, equitable access to healthy food in the community. And the fourth is the natural environment, which includes both protection of Onondaga Creek, green stormwater management, reducing the urban heat islands, pedestrian infrastructure, things of that nature. Waste and recycling is the last, and that addresses ways that the city can more efficiently address waste and recycling issues, increase our recycling, reduce our waste, and also it addresses litter in the community and makes prescriptions for things that we can do about it. So each chapter contains 3 to 7 goals, objectives for each goal, and then recommended actions and suggested tracking measurements. Public outreach and input consisted of, first, forming 5 advisory committees to advise us in development of the plan. There are over 70 members of those committees, And the committees were made up of a variety of experts, experts from the academic world, ESF, and SU were well represented, experts from the nonprofit world, from other branches of government, the county, school district, and even businesses who have a stake in subjects such as energy conservation and recycling. Public comments were invited on the plan via an article in the Post Standard once that plan is up on the website. We held 8 neighborhood TNT meetings to invite comment and feedback from the public on this plan. We also did the same at a community-wide meeting held in City Hall Commons and at a focus core group meeting. So based on all of those comments that were received, planning and sustainability staff filtered those and incorporated those into the plan and re-released the plan on October 1st. So the plan will influence policy and decision-making in the city in 2 main ways. It prescribes both actions and policy recommendations. So in the sense of actions, it will be the responsibility of the Bureau staff to work with other city departments in implementing those recommended actions. And in the case of policy measures, the Bureau will research best practices, best policies, and then draft proposed legislation for consideration by the Common Council. So that wraps up the components of the plan, and I will turn the microphone back over to Andy for some concluding remarks.
Thank you.
Just in closing, I'd like to thank the Planning Commission members for your participation in this effort. The Syracuse Common Council, we're joined by Councilor at Large Jean Kestner and Councilor at Large Kathleen Joy. I want to thank them for their involvement in this entire effort. We've had like 7 or 8 different Common Council committee meetings over the last year, and I really want to thank them for those opportunities. And really just say that this entire effort is really about articulating a clearer long-term vision for our city, and a vision that is for a stronger to be back in front of the Commission and the Council and the community in the years to come with additional efforts related to this. So, thank you.
As your references, okay. First, I compliment you and the individuals who participated on what, from all indications, appears to be a real thought-out plan and certainly a meaningful document. The living document, you would be formally representing the updates, and this is only for the record. How often will you be doing so?
Well, we suspect that we would have some additional components to add to the comprehensive plan approximately a year from now. Thereafter, it will vary. I think we'll have revisions to different components in the years after that. But I think it's hard to say. Hopefully, we'd be in front of the Commission and the community every year or 2 with some modifications.
Are there, my colleague, are there questions of either you, Mr. Maxwell, or either please?
Oh, yes. First of all, I think it was great that you sent out 35,000 letters. It's great that we have all this up on the web. Syracuse population, as far as I can see, is we're still with a pen and the paper. To get involvement of the citizens that don't have access. You guys may think that everybody should have access to the internet. I think that we should have some sort of a good campaign of putting this in print and getting this information in an envelope in your letter that you can open up and read and have a document. So I encourage you that that's another format of drawing in individuals that have not been able to participate in the past for any reason, whether they can't get access to electronics or they may not be able to attend some of these sessions based on their age. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there comments from either my other colleagues? Hearing none, Mr. Maxwell, thank you again. And before we ask for those individuals who might want to make comments in favor, let me please invite our city council persons to please come forward, if you will.
Thank you very much. I do hope I make it to the other meeting because it's important, but this is first in my heart, so most important to me. My name is Jean Kessner. I'm a counselor at large, and I am the chair of the Neighborhood Preservation Committee. So this falls under my committee. And I want to say everybody involved in this has the best of intentions, and that would include me. And I came not to speak for or against, actually. But I would be more against, because the action on our agenda is to lead agency status for the Planning Commission, which it's my intention that you would be the lead agent. But I have a concern about the seeker, the State Environmental Quality Review, being done before the plan is all the way complete. Now, I don't mean that it wouldn't be revised in the future, and I don't mean that it's not a living document, because to be a good document, and everybody has the best of intention of making it a good document, and I believe it is, it's not completed. And so to do an environmental quality review and leave out big parts, I want to know, will those parts, when they come before you in 2040, include additional sections? The impact of the land bank, new experiment, we're going to get it up and running. It's going to be a major, we hope, a major step forward for our city. Pedestrian infrastructure, which is there, parks and open space, which is there, water and sewer infrastructure. Couldn't get down Jefferson this weekend, you know, we have that all the time. And additionally, and an aside, these water main breaks cause a tremendous loss for the building owners. I'm a member of Plymouth Congregational Church, and that, what happened to our church, it set us back. We're still not back. Bicycle plan is part of a larger integrated transportation plan. Bicycle plan is great, but you know, a larger integrated plan. Green infrastructure, we're doing amazing things there, spelled out specifically. And I appreciate the comments that were made, because it's very important to me. The city must plan for global changes that will most likely adversely determine many of our options. Although all of the consequences of climate change are not known, changes to the comprehensive plan should be made as information and technology becomes available. Once again, the living dynamic document. But the State Environmental Quality Review should not be segmented. It should consider the whole plan. And I believe at this time, I would live with commitment from the Planning Commission that when these big items come forward, that you do an environmental quality, good, sound look at that too, and see how it fits into the plan. I don't want to hold anything back. I want us to move forward. But I want us to move forward with the environment for the people, and for the planet, and for the city to be utmost in our minds. Thank you very much for taking my comments first.
Well, thank you. Before you leave the podium,
yes.
We are having to improvise here this evening.
Yes.
For a variety of reasons, but most importantly to get inclusiveness and certainly transparency.
Correct.
Since you're going to try to go out between the raindrops, make the next meeting, before you leave, let me ask Mr. Maxwell whether he would want to make any comments relative to what you've stated in your comments before you leave. If not, we can certainly get them later. Mr. Maxwell, what do you have?
I'll hold my comments to the end.
You will hold them and certainly...
And we were talking, we've had a number of meetings, and we're in agreement on 99.9%. I care about this one particular thing, that an environmental quality review will be done on the major portions as they come forward. You can't do everything at once. They've done a fantastic job. They worked very, very hard.
One of my reasons for asking him
Yes.
questions at the end of the presentations is that I've done some analysis and research on yourself and knew that you were going to be speaking, so I was hoping that he did, as he did, answer the size of a number of your questions in advance, because I read and learned that you're very thorough and comprehensive yourself. So,
sometimes too much, so. But thank you very much, and like I said, I appreciate your time and your service to the city.
Thank you. Ms. Joy?
Yes, thank you. I'm Kathleen Joy, County Councilor at Large. I want to thank the Planning Commission for its involvement, and all of you who are here. This is a document that has been percolating, I guess, land use and planning and comprehensive planning implemented some things as a Band-Aid approach, and now it's refreshing to know that the time has come to put it all into one document that can be used for guidance. And as we've been saying, it is a growing document. As things are going to be identified, they'll be put into the plan. The dialogue needs to continue through the Common Council, through the Planning Commission, through the Department of Sustainability, all of that, because it's a document that is the Syracuse Comprehensive Plan, but it's not the mayor's plan, it's not the Planning Commission's plan, it's not the Common Council plan, it's all of ours. And so once we have that outline articulated and approved, we can fill that in, we can move forward, we can identify something that maybe is outlined in here but doesn't have the meat and potatoes that go along with it. So as we move ahead, we will have more dialogue, there'll be a lot more public hearings, the Common Council will be approving this, and as Councilor Kessner had articulated, there will be other components to it, which we identified are somewhere down the road. Because once you have a comprehensive plan, things could change, circumstances could change. But we appreciate from the Common Council's perspective, having the opportunity to be a part of all of this, to hearing from our constituents, from all of you. We are all stakeholders in all of this, and we'll continue to work together to get that plan adopted. So I just wanted to thank everyone for being here, and just kind of second the notion that we're all involved in this, including the Common Council.
Joy, thank you so very much,
Thank you.
both of you. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, we'll